Hi, people. Here I am. Uh, we're gonna do a little video about this little this little boy story that started in the mountains of El Salvador. I'm not gonna go into deep details because I want to see how this plays out. Uh, Depending how these do, in 3 or 4 years, I will tell the details that I'm not given on, on some of my stories because right now it doesn't make sense for me to go into those details, but you know, I'm gonna give you guys a rough idea in every video where I come from and how I got here. So when I was a little boy growing up in the mountains of El Salvador, I was I was you know this was when the war was getting started in the 70s, late 70s. Left El Salvador right at January 80s when the war broke out. If you guys look at the history, you'll see, what I'm talking about. So my dad, my father, our father, they're there. I got brothers and sister. He he had his own idea about life, and you know us being his kids, so we had to put up with whatever idea he had. So then my sister got married first. Then my brothers, one by one, started leaving the house, and I was the last child. So I was, I was the last one to leave the house. But my dad was already, old, and he was not the man that he was when all my brothers were at home. Funny thing, how life, you know, passes the bill to us. So he always wanted to leave away from society, I guess. So he leased this land in the mountains when I was like 9 years old, and the nearest neighbor from where he went and built a shack, because he never really built a house. He just built shacks and where we live. Uh Not because he didn't have money, it's because he didn't have vision. His idea of life was enjoying, having, partying. He was alcoholic, gambler, womanizer, and his idea wasn't making life good for his kids or his wife. It was just him having fun. But anyway, you know, that's another story. So the nearest town was like, I don't know, maybe 5 miles away from us, and we had to come down the mountains to go to each direction to town. So we live like in the middle of two towns in the mountains, and the school was like, we had to walk to school. So he put us in school. My the brother that's 3 years older than me, and then it's me, the last child. So, but we had to walk every day to the school, like 5, 7 miles. And the funny way that the schools are were then in El Salvador, I don't know. I don't know now. I've been in this country 47 years, so I don't know. This is my country, I don't know what the heck is going on in El Salvador. Uh, I hear all these things about El Salvador, but you know, I have few experience. I've been traveling to El Salvador on and off since 1985 when I got my documents here, so I was able to travel back and forth and take care of my parents. I take care of them for 30 years till they pass away. And my brothers that live here, I don't know what, they did contribute, but that's their story, not mine. I'm just telling mine. So we had to go to school from 8 a.m. to till noon, and so we had to leave the house like 5 a.m., get to the school, and half the time we were barefoot. So, and we hightailed home to do chores, you know, and they'll give us this little homework, but we really didn't take care of it because there was no enforcement. That the teachers, for example, my teacher, Miss Rosita, she I guess she had a horrible husband because every weekend she come beat up with black and blue eyes and crying, and she was a wreck. I mean, we can tell that she was being abused. But anyway, that's another story. So then one day, rules came down from school that we had to provide some supplies to school and four uniforms, and and start being decent. So my dad was totally against that. So he pulled us out of school. That was another story. And we went, full time to work in the farm, the fields. And the funny thing is, I was the water boy. I was the uh, we lived so far in the mountains. There was no water springs, so I had to go collect water and two horses, sometimes three horses, down the mountains. It was a hike, like 5 mile hike, and sometimes my mom had me do two trips. So I'll leave 5 a.m. in the morning, get back like 10 with this water, and my mom said, "Well, you need to go back and she'll feed me a little bit, and I go back, you know, and come back like 3 o'clock and do that the next morning." It was rough, and I was like 11, 12 years old, and so that's part of my beginning. And I had dreams. I wanted to be out of there. I wanted to have a better life. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that there had to be a way to change my life, to have a better life. And one of my dreams always was to never have kids if I was going to give them the same life I had. My goal was to better my life, give my kids and my wife a better life than my mom and we had. And you know, I God has blessed me, and my 5 boys can testify that I didn't do too bad. I, I always told them when they complained that I wish I had half an hour of their childhood, when I was a kid. That would have been awesome. If I would have had half an hour on my kid's childhood when I was a child. Actually, I didn't have time to be a kid. I didn't have time to be a child. I had to grow up immediately. I had to fend for myself. I had to, if I got hurt, I cure myself. If I needed help, there was no one. I remember one time I needed help with something, and my mom told me, "Hey, when I give birth to you, you came by yourself. You didn't come with a helper. Do it." I don't remember what it was, but anyhow, and that stuck with me for years. So, just a quick beginning here. I'll be putting more of these videos up, and we'll see how this turns out. One of my boys said that we should write a book, but who knows? Talk to you guys later. Peace and love. And don't forget to subscribe and follow and pass these videos to it. Like I say, this is the beginning of the story. Talk to you guys later. Bye.